Nowadays, open world games feel done and tired. They're just glorified checklists where you go across a large empty world to go collect the next pointless icon on the map. It's not even fun. A 9 to 5 is more entertaining, for crying out loud. Xenoblade X's map isn't just one of the biggest open worlds out there, but it is one of the most believable worlds. Everywhere you look on Mira, you'll find something different in its many ecosystems. The map isn't just massive, but sells the idea of struggling to survive on an alien world, putting more dangerous enemies in your way, along with massive structures selling the idea of being small and fighting to live just one more day. Remember Nintendo's little failure, the Wii U? The console that failed due to cringe marketing aimed towards children, its strange name making people think it was just an accessory to the Wii, and the tablet making things look worse by looking like something you'd shove in your kid's face to shut them up? Well, somehow, they managed to squeeze that huge game into that console. Mind you, the Wii U is not that much more powerful than a Switch, and even back then it was considered underpowered, which makes it more impressive that they somehow got a 400 square kilometer map running on such an underpowered console, by using several techniques such as lowering the detail when you're far away, things like the foliage, using fog to cover up that thing, and relying on the art style. They were able to get a massive and beautiful world running on the Wii U. And this wasn't their first time doing such a thing, as they were somehow able to cram the first Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii, which is even more impressive considering how big that game is. And that is even more apparent as they had to sacrifice character models for this, as in Xenoblade Chronicles, they look like they were from the PS1 to save resources. But with Xenoblade X, those sacrifices aren't as apparent, showing the magic that Monolith Soft works, which would later become a vital asset for Nintendo. Now there is one apparent compromise made, and that is the loading screens. Despite there not being loading screens between continents, you can still see them when you're fast traveling, and these screens are quite long. To alleviate this, Monolith Soft released a free DLC to help fix the loading times, as the digital version of the game was 20GB, and the basic model of the Wii only had 8GB of storage while the deluxe came with 32GB, forcing Monolith to have to release this data pack to players. Ever since the first Xenoblade game on the Wii, the game gave you the freedom to go anywhere on the map, but with a twist. There are these monsters called unique enemies. They're all over the maps, usually guarding off high-level areas, and which, for those of you that don't play Xenoblade, they're super bosses stronger than regular enemies of the same level. This design philosophy is a staple of the Xenoblade series, including X, but it has something that the other games lack, and that is the enemy size mechanic. Every game has the iconic level 80 monkey known as Territorial Rotbart, placed in very early areas of the game, serving as a giant scare to new players. But with X and the enemy size mechanic, this monkey becomes far more terrifying, as levels still keep their importance, but strength is also dictated by enemy size. Larger enemies, which are typically more reserved for your mechs or skells, can be faced on foot if you're skilled enough and have a good build. Though if you're not prepared, you will be killed in 1 or 2 hits by these behemoths. Even large regular enemies pose just as much as a threat on foot. However, running away is not your only option. If you're strong enough, you can always sneak past them. If you go unnoticed by using an art or to make yourself invisible to them, or if you just run past them, it works. The psychology that the game imposes on you forces you to respect the world and rewards you for your strength, with rewards that warrant the trouble the fight gave you. The game also forces you to respect the world. Even when you're max level and you have the strongest skill, you can still be humbled by a large enemy. Unlike the other games where that danger goes away once you get enough upgrades, Mira is always dangerous. The game doesn't just open up to you like other games do from the start. No, it gradually opens itself up to you as you progress throughout the story, and I don't mean new areas, but I mean the ability to reach places you couldn't before. The game likes to tease you with its smacks on its cover art and them being all over the game's main hub New Los Angeles, but you're forced to wait until you can get your hands on one, and up until chapter 6 of the game, you're on foot and you can only sprint and jump around. But thanks to the lower gravity of the planet, you can jump higher and longer, which is quite useful. And once you complete chapter 6 of the story, the game finally rewards you with your very own skill. You can jump higher in it, you can transform into a vehicle for even faster traversal, and now you can probably take out some of those lower level tyrants that were blocking your way. However, you're still grounded. And only once until you reach chapter 9 of the story does the game let you free, once and for all, by giving you the flight module, opening up the skies for the fastest form of travel, and you can finally reach those unreachable mountains you yearn to climb at the start. Because you've spent 40 hours up to this point in the ground, and you're finally able to soar over all those obstacles, it makes it feel earned. Never once does it feel wrong, as when you come across something you can't explore fully, it never feels unfair, and the game does this by intentionally forcing your brain to remember this area, so you can come back to it later. Which is the same trick that Metroidvanias pull off. Every traversal upgrade feels earned, giving a greater sense of satisfaction to the player, rewarding them by gradually opening up the world to them instead of letting them go everywhere they please. Earlier on, I mentioned how Monolith Soft would later go on to become the backbone of Nintendo, and that is because after Nintendo acquired the company, they will go on to help with some of the games like Skyward Sword and Animal Crossing New Leaf. But after Xenoblade X, the team for Xenoblade 2 was pulled aside to work on Breath of the Wild to do topography, and you can really feel Monolith's work in Hyrule, with the open air design that will go on to become one of the most influential games of all time, kickstarting an open world trend in gaming, which really shows that it was just a test run, and it greatly impacted not just Nintendo but the gaming industry as a whole, as Breath of the Wild, for example, later inspired Hoyoverse to make Genshin Impact, changing the gacha scene forever. Monolith's borderline optimization wizardry also led them to gaining more employees to help with other non-Xenoblade projects such as the recent Mario Kart World or the Splatoon series, along with Tears of the Kingdom becoming an important support developer for Nintendo, helping to shape all the games we love and to make the Switch as great as it was. Xenoblade X's atmosphere is also phenomenal, with the weather system placing debuffs on your party that can affect performance, but also enhanced visuals such as Sylvalum at night creating a beautiful and mysterious sight. The game's music was also composed by Hiroyuki Sawano, who you may know as the guy who composed the Attack on Titan soundtrack, and he really showed off his musical genius for this game, as every track in this game is amazing.
Show us light from now. Show us sight for where we can go. In the game with no guiding light. Do you know where is the goal?
The lyrics of the music are oftentimes also just nonsensical.
Over the rainbow, glory inside. It's light in our dreams and I hope we're alright. We're all the same from another world. We don't belong here anymore.
But either way, it's amazing music that really sells off the atmosphere of the game, especially during the tense story moments. For years, fans begged for the game about being stuck on a planet to be ported to the Switch, as it was stuck on the Wii U, ironically enough. And up until March of 2024, when the game came out, it didn't really generate that much buzz as the numbered games due to it releasing at the very end of the Switch's lifespan, but it still did much better to the Wii U release, allowing fans who were never able to play the original to finally step foot out of Mira and uncover its mysteries. Thank you guys so much for making it to the end of another video. And thank you so much for the overwhelming support that you guys showed on last video. It made me super happy seeing all the views I got, as I gave up on that video, a week after it dropped, as it really didn't get much traction. Before the algorithm picked it up late and I checked my studio and I saw, wow, 800 views. So really guys, thank you so much for that support. It made me really happy. But with that, like, comment, subscribe, the whole deal. You guys watch YouTube, you guys know. And it really just shows support, keeps me motivated, blah blah blah. I don't make money from this content, I just do it out of passion, just to share my interests and talk about that with you guys. But that really helps the channel grow, and it shows it to more people, and they might be interested in hearing me just ramble on about this stuff. And well, till next time, see ya.